Okay, and welcome back to our 21st Shiur. So exciting to be back. And we have a lot of things to cover together. Of course, tomorrow night is already the 33rd count. So we're counting 31 days. If you did not do Sphira by mistake last night, let's count it together. Today is 31 days of the Yomer, which is 4 weeks and 3 days. So let's say that Hayoim, Echad, Ushloishim Yoim, Sheheim, Arba'a Shavuos, Ushloisha Yamim La'omer, Harachaman Hu Yachzer Lanu Avodas Beis Hamikdash Limkoima B'Meher B'Meinu Amin Tzelan. Today's midah to be worked on is Tiferet Shebahoid, the beauty in pride, that we are proud Yidden, that we are proud soldiers, and the beauty, the Rahmanis, and the way we do it in a beautiful way, in a calm way. When we are proud that we're Jews, we don't just push people around and we say we're Jewish, we're very proud, and doesn't matter what people say. We do it in a beautiful way, as the Pirkei Avos says. What does Hashem appreciate? Kol Tiferes Mina Adam. It's beautiful for people and beautiful for Hashem that we do a Kiddush Hashem in the most beautiful manner. Of course, nothing overrules following Hashem, but the real best way to do it is the Tiferes Shabahoid. We do it in such a beautiful way where people say, not like, oh my gosh, these poor Jews, they have to do so much. Oy neba. But they say, wow, I wish I was like that. Okay, let's start off with again Tefillah and Tzedakah before we get to our Torah, to our Shiur. And I told you a couple of, about a month ago, or maybe even more by now, that my teacher was Nebuch, still needs a refuah shalema. My first grade teacher, I still have his Tehillim, and even his handwriting. You see closely over there, it says a ches. I don't know if you could see it. It's almost marked out, but my number was ches because we had in our classroom a bunch of lined up Tehillims, and he was an extraordinary mechanech, an extraordinary educator, and really cared for us. Even though we were in year one, he already wanted us to do all these things and be excited about saying Tehillim. So he walked us all to Kahas, that is the major Sfarim store that prints all the Sfarim of the Rabbeim, and of course all the Babich's Sfarim and many other things as well. And he all bought us a beautiful Tehillim, and we were lined up in class. So to find your Tehillim, he made you a letter. Mine still says Ches. So let's start off with a kapitel for Refuah Shalema, for first of all, Chaim Levi Ben Chana Priva. Let's say Lam Natzeh together. Lam Natzeh Yad Mizmor LeDavid Yan Chadinoi B'Yoim Tzada Yisagevcha Shem Eloya Yaakov Yishlach Ezrecha Mi Kodesh Umitzion Yisadeka Yizkarka Mincha Yisecha Ve'oilas Ve'yidash Nesela Yitin Lecha Chilva Vecha V'chol Atzascha Yemale Nidana Rebishua Secha Uv'Shem Eleheinu Nidgoil Yemale Adinai Kol Mishalei Secha Ati Yadaiti Ki Hoshia Adinai Mishichai Ya'aneyu Mishmei Kachai Bigevudai Sheisha Yeminai Eila Vadecha Eila Vasusin Va'anachnu B'Shem Adinai Leinu Nazkir Heima Kadu V'Nafalu Va'anachnu Kamnu V'Nisaidat Adinai Hoshia Hamelech Yaneinu V'Yoim Kareinu. Can't wait to tell him when he marches out of that hospital proudly that we had many children in Melbourne using the same Tehillim, many, probably over 30 years later. Okay, moving on, of course, to our Sefer HaMitzvahs before we get to our names, today's main subject, and we have a couple of beautiful videos that I can't wait to show you. So let's start with today's Sefer HaMitzvahs. We're in the Sefer of Kinyan, how to acquire things. Now, actually, today, we are going to be speaking about people that unfortunately damage each other, injure each other, Rahmanul Itzlan. So if someone hits someone else, you can't just say, I'm sorry. Of course, you have to say, I'm sorry. And it's interesting that learning this halacha during Sfiras Omer, besides saying, I'm sorry, you got to own up to what you did. So if you damage them in any way, of course, you have to pay for those damages, and you get a kanas, you get a punishment. And you'll have to pay for example, for embarrassing them if you did it in public, and there's a way how to estimate how much that costs. Interesting. You'll have to pay for the actual damage, for their doctor bills, and for the time that they lost because they couldn't work. So you got to really, besides saying I'm sorry, that's a lesson generally that we can't just say I'm sorry. If we're really sorry, then we got to own up to the things that we did. And that will mean, of course, saying I'm sorry, how can I pay that back to you? And even if you don't have money, you could do it in other ways. Okay, now today's, don't forget to give tzedakah, and here we roll. Today, of course, we're going to be discussing Lag BaOmer, everyone's favorite Yom Tov, not just yours. Although it's interesting, it's not necessarily a Yom Tov that you think of like a Yom Tov, but there's such a good feeling when we all think about Lag BaOmer. And it's not just you, it's actually Chassidim, it's the Hayom Yom of Lag BaOmer, that Chassidim always looked forward to Lag BaOmer because that day was such a special day. You saw the holiness, you kind of felt this holiness, and amazingly, all these miracles would happen on that day. So people would actually specifically wait for Lag BaOmer, just Lag BaOmer, to get brachas for children specifically, brachas in general. So, of course, it's Lag BaOmer, it's an extra time. Even today, it's start davening. But on Lag BaOmer, it's a very, very important time to daven because it goes straight to Rashbiyah, they go straight up to Shemaim, and all these brachas happen. Many, many, many miracle stories happen on Lag BaOmer. I'll just tell you one. I had a teacher that didn't have kids for 11 years. And when I was learning in Montreal, when I was in like Yeshiva G'dayla, in other words, Zal, when I was an older bacher, and we were upset and fed up. We spoke about in Pesach Sheni that when a Yid bothers a Yid truly and a Yid demands, we get what we want. So his name was Reb Moshe Stern. Some of your tatis actually know who this is. And we decided our year that enough is enough. So on Lag BaOmer, our teacher would go every year, the 8-hour drive to the oil and the 8-hour drive back from Montreal to the oil, and he would ask the Rebbe for a bracha for children. And we decided we weren't going to tell him what's inside our pan. We wrote a letter to the Rebbe, and we said, Rebbe, we demand, we're asking, I don't remember the exact expression, but we're begging the Rebbe to give him finally, after 11 hard years of our teacher, that he should finally have a child. And I said, every boy in this yeshiva has got you, right? You said you got to mean it, right? If you mean it, then show you mean it. So I said, every boy in our yeshiva has got to take on a hachlata that they're doing from Lag BaOmer till Gimel Tammuz. And so it was. Every boy signed on it. We put it into an envelope. And I caught Rabbi Stern right before he was at his car already. And I ran to his car. I said, Rabbi Stern, I got a letter for the Rebbe. He said, I'm not going to read it. I said, I didn't tell him what it was. I said, yeah, don't worry, I just need to get it to the oil. Amazingly, the next Erev Shvi Pesach, it was the middle of Pesach the next year, almost about 10 months later, or 11 months later, he had a baby boy, and me and a couple of friends drove back all the way from New York. We were already in New York, and we drove all the way from New York to Montreal, just for one day. He was actually shocked. We spent Shabbos with him. I to tell you, we had to drive back Motzei Shabbos. Staying up Sunday night was quite difficult. But it was such a beautiful story. One of the many, many Nissim. And we'll talk about, hopefully, a story soon about other tremendous Nissim. So that's Lag BaOmer, because Lag BaOmer brings out, as the Rebbe said, just like by Chai El, what day in Iyar is Lag BaOmer? Chai Iyar. As you guys all know, and everyone make sure you're there. We're about to make history. Because as in Chabad Youth, myself, Rabbi Khan, Moshe Khan, and of course the Shluchim, we're all chatting, say, gee, what do we do this year for Lag BaOmer? Everyone's locked in their homes. Okay, maybe we could do this music truck that could go around and everyone could come out of their house. That's why that sign competition, and thank you for all those that sent in their signs, their beautiful Lag BaOmer signs, and we'll present that on our Lag BaOmer program. So, we do have a Lag BaOmer program on Tuesday, 2 o'clock, in coordination with all your schools. At 2 o'clock, we'll have a very exciting Lag BaOmer program. If you're not aware of it yet, make sure you have these special ingredients. Ask your parents. It's a very special cooking show that you'll be able to make some Lag BaOmer yummy food, arts, and crafts, including other special things like announcing the winner of the poster contest and presenting everyone's posters, or different, I know some people made Lego floats, I believe. I'm going to go through all that soon. Very, very exciting. So that's on Tuesday. So we're all thinking, what can we do this year? And then, everyone's saying, we got to unite. Everyone's so far apart, we got to unite. So all the shluchim, the whole Australia united and said, what if everyone took their idea? What can we do together like BaOmer? And I said, look, Chabad Youth is doing this idea. What if we reach the entire Australia? And everyone's like, hey. And then another shliach said his idea, and another shliach, and all of a sudden, within a couple of days, we launched this campaign, 18 for 18, 18,000 Yidden for 18 minutes on the 18th day of Iyar at 18 o'clock, which is 6 o'clock, 18,000 Jews. It was going to be tremendous. By the way, there's going to be an after show. So after the 18 minutes, there'll be more like speeches and Torah, Tefillah, and Stucca together. It's going to be the most incredible nachas for Hashem to see literally all his Yidden close together. But after the 18 minutes, we're actually going to have some fun. Some concerts, different exciting singers, a magic show. So stay tuned. Okay, why am I saying all this? Because Chai Iyar gives a chayis into Iyar. Because before we had Pnimiyas HaTorah, I would ask you, what's Sfir Soimer? Well, it's just a mitzvah. You start Pesach, then Hashem says count 49 days, and at the end of 49 days, is Shavuos. But then Rashbi reveals to us, wait a minute, there's a deeper meaning. It's not just about leaving Mitzrayim 3,000 years ago, receiving the Torah 40 days after that. It's a story of your life. Look deep what the Torah is telling you. Yetzias Mitzrayim means trying to break away from your Yetzer Hara, that power that says, listen to me, you just got to do whatever you feel like it because you're a slave to your own feelings, and then you just do it if you feel like it. And that power. And we have to have a Yetzias Mitzrayim. And then slowly we climb the steps of Sfiras HaOmer, as we spoke in our past Shiurim, that it's about working on our midas, preparing ourselves for Matan Torah. Every day is a different midah to work on. How to be kind, how to be disciplined, how to do the right thing, how to stop ourselves from doing the wrong thing, how to be kind to other people, how to help, how to be proud of what you're doing. Each different feeling we go in detail as we finally prepare for Matan Torah. And that's what Rashbi taught us. And of course through Chassidus, to really understand what all the mitzvahs are about, what this world's about, that it's not just a world you live, you do mitzvahs, you die, you go to Gan Eden, but there's a plan. Hashem wants something from you in this world, and only you can do it. Hashem wants, as we say in the Psukim, the 12 Psukim, La says, Lo Yizbarech Dira B'Tachtoinim, he wants to make this home. What you guys all know, oh yeah, I know why Hashem created the world, he wants a home, he wants a base of English. You only know that because of course, starting from Lag BaOmer, and Chassidus, and that is this special day, and that's why it touches every Jewish soul, and we're going to show you soon, right? And like we said, 18,000 Yidden, that's not just different types of religious Yidden, there's every extremely not religious Yidden, including Yidden that never were part of a Jewish program before, because Lag BaOmer has that little neshama, and shows that every Yid has this incredible neshama. Now, one of the customs, of course, is, well, let me try to go, fine, I'll help you out. We'll go in the order of the questions. So, of course, what happened like BaOmer, you all know that I only asked that question for really to lead up to the next question. And, of course, you know what happened like BaOmer is that, unfortunately, the Talmidim of Rabbi Akiva, like I told my children, you know, Rabbi Akiva is the one that says, V'ahavta l'reach hakamaycha, but out of all special Talmidei Chachamim and Tanoim, it's his students that didn't respect each other. That's really strange, and we spoke about that also in a previous year. And the reason is because they thought they're having Avos Yisrael. Oh, Rabbi Akiva said we have to look at they would scream at each other, you have to follow the Torah, you have to understand the way I understand it, because people see things a little bit different. And when kids argue with each other, no, the game has to be like this, no, the meaning of the pasuk is like this, and they scream at each other. It's okay to argue because you don't need to disagree. We all have different minds. We all have different ways of seeing things. We all have different ways of having fun. That's fine. That's what's beautiful about the rainbow. We'll get to the rainbow soon. That it's so colorful. You're allowed to disagree. Peace doesn't mean, okay, everyone should want the same thing. No, that's not peace. That's just saying everyone must believe in one way. We're saying everyone is very different. But despite your differences, we still can respect each other and say, okay, I hear what you're saying. I don't agree with you, but I still think you have a pretty interesting way of seeing it, and I get to respect you for that. And unfortunately, the Talmidei Rabbi Akiva, they said, oh, Rabbi Akiva says we have to have Avos Yisrael, then we have to love each student, and these students don't understand what Rabbi Akiva is talking about, so I have to scream at them so they should really understand, because I feel bad for them that they don't understand. And everyone would scream at each other. I don't know if scream, but disrespect each other. And unfortunately, the students passed away. 24,000. And like one shliach said, you know what? We hope we don't get 18,000. We're going to combat that hepech, the opposite of Avos Yisrael tomorrow night. And instead of 18,000, let's get 24,000 Yidden to combat those 24,000 students that never separated. We're going to all unite. Make sure you're there. Make sure your friends, your family, your cousins, tell everyone about it. Okay. Now, also, so the students finally stopped dying on Lag BaOmer. Also, of course, it's the yahrzeit of the top student of Rabbi Akiva, Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. And that leads us to the next question. So the two things that happen, like, of course, the students start passing away. I know you learned that Baruch Hashem in school, and Ashpi's yard site. Interesting, he said it's not a yard site, it's a Yom Hilula. Ever heard that word before? Yom Hilula? Do you actually know what a Yom Hilula means? Do you know? Could you believe it means a chasana day or a wedding day? He said, when a neshama does what he needs to do on this world, when he passes away, it's not a sad day. It's the most happiest day because then the neshama shines the most. And much of the Zohar was actually revealed. All these primus Torah was revealed on Lag BaOmer right before he passed away. Because the neshama was shining, and all the special secrets of the Torah that we know, and the meaning, the special meaning of what life is about, what the Torah is about, is because of this special day. Now, why does this have to do with children? That was our next question. What does that have to do with children? So the Rebbe explains that, because this is all about students. We're all students, especially children. Well, really, every Jew is a student. And that's why really the Rebbe would say many times, every Jew is a child. Because we're all continuing to learn and to understand and to discover. But specifically, it's a day for the children, because the children are the students, and like the students of Rabbi Akiva that didn't get it, but we have learned our lesson, and the students today get it. And this is a special day specifically for children, because they're the neshama shines, and they get it. And this is all about a day of students. And I'm going to tell you a beautiful story how children saved the day. Okay, what's the custom to eat on Lag BaOmer? I hope you know this one. Scream it out, even though I can't hear you. I want to be able to hear you, not through my screen. Yeah, karib, not carrots. Karib, which is boxer in Yiddish, and in Hebrew it's chruv, which is a very interesting type of fruit. You all know about it. I think the time it comes to Australia, and at least in America, was pretty, a little bit of a Mesiras Nefesh to eat. But apparently they're actually delicious when they're fresh. They almost taste like chocolate. Although actually I have seen like rice crackers that are carob. They're coated by carob, and it tastes actually very quite delicious. Now, you know why you eat carob, of course, is because to remember the tremendous ness that happened when Ashbi had to run away for 13 years in the cave. He had nothing to eat. His wife originally gave him what to eat, but then he had to run away because he was scared that they would capture his wife and torture her, and she'd be forced to say where he was. Because originally he was hiding in shul, and she was able to bring food. But he realized that for her own good, it's better that they run away and not tell her. So if the Chas V'Shalom capture her and force her, she really wouldn't know. So she was happy that they didn't tell her. And when they come to the cave, of course, no one's there to feed them. So Hashem all of a sudden makes this boxer tree grow, and a spring of water. Can you imagine the Mesiras Nefesh for Torah? That's all they ate. And you complain about, "Mommy, my lunch is not good. My lunch." You know what? Imagine having to eat boxer for 13 years straight. And one of the things, of course, this teaches us, what we could learn is, number one, that at the end of the day, everything comes from Hashem. You don't worry. You continue learning Torah. Because just like the man, it was just like the man. And that's why Hashem told Moshe Rabbeinu that when the man fell, he said, I want you to take one jug and fill that jug, and that jug is going to be... So do you know that there's actually man that exists today? Yes, it does. Right in the Aron, or with the Aron, which was hidden before the Beis HaMikdash was destroyed, and with it went a little jug of man. And actually, you didn't get to see, so it exists today, hiding somewhere under Har HaMais, behind the Koisel, there is the Aron, and right near it is a little jug of man, and it was actually once brought out because I believe it was Yirmiyahu, and he told the Yidden, Chevra, you gotta learn Torah, stop mucking around, stop going in your field all day from morning to night, you gotta leave some time for Torah. And they told Yirmiyahu, or whoever, I believe that was the Navi, and they said, but if we learn Torah, then we won't get any food, we have to work the whole day from morning to night, we don't have time to stop and learn Torah. So of course, Yirmiyahu said, where does that come from? Where does food come from? You think Hashem doesn't know how to provide? And he pulled out the jug. He says, you see this, what your fat parents ate? Because they learned Torah all day. Hashem will figure out. So we're all worried. Oh, we got to learn. We got to learn all day from morning to night to get a proper job. We got to work all day. You got to wake up early and do a very quick davening, Chas V'Shalom, with a Zoom davening, and we got to do, and just work all day, and then no time really for, maybe we'll do a half a share for night because I'm far to Yid, so I'll do like a quick share tonight, but listen, I need a gift to my family. Don't forget, like Rashbi, you know what? He didn't have any food, so Hashem made it for him. Now, of course, Hashem wants us to get jobs. Of course, Hashem wants us to earn our money. But we have to remember that's just because Hashem wants us to make what we call a keli. He wants us to do something to earn our money. But if we work harder and harder and daven quicker and quicker and learn less and less, it won't get us more money. Hashem already decides from Rosh Hashanah. So that's one of the things I think we could have. Remember by eating this carob, if you can. As the Rebbe said, I remember my father eating this carob, this boxer, even though, of course, it was very expensive, especially in Russia, because it's not a usual fruit. So just to get it was extremely expensive, but nonetheless, they would spend this money to get the carob, eat the same thing Rashbi ate. And I guess one of the lessons for us, like I just said, is to remember that if you dedicate yourself to Torah, Hashem will figure out a way to get us everything that we need. Okay. Now, our next question was, what do we make on Lag BaOmer? So, I said there's two answers, because there's actually a couple of answers to that, which I guess means two. So one of the things, of course, we make a bonfire. It's one of the things we make on a bonfire, because Eish, Torah is like fire. Torah warms a person. Torah brings light to the world. And especially, of course, Panimius HaTorah, Chassidus, the secrets of the Torah, that gives a light on everything. What do I mean? Beautiful. Say your shit. Oh, Parents Moshe made a fire. And and he drew Shvuas, and he made all these. Thank you, Parents Moshe, is showing us a beautiful fire that he made, and a fire came down from Shemayim when he passed away. Because what do I mean that Torah brings light to the world? In other words, let's say this room was completely dark, and I come inside and I can't see anything. Let's say it was even darker than this, and you couldn't see a thing. Does that mean the things in this room don't exist? Let's flick back on the light. And then you say, oh my gosh, look, magic. There's a chair, there's Sfarim, there's a wall, there's a light. It appeared? No, it was always there. The light helps us realize what's around us. And that's what Torah does, especially Chassidus. It brings light to help us realize, hey, right, when Mashiach comes, he'll really turn on the lights. And we'll say, oh my gosh, I didn't realize Hashem's all over the place. Oh my gosh, there's Malachim. This world is so special. So that's what. Of course, number two is to make Lag BaOmer. What else is what's the second answer? What do we make? We make Lag BaOmer parades. And we're going to talk about that a little bit soon with a special video. And that's the idea. Like I said, it's all about the children, and it's all about Achdus, because we said that, unfortunately, till Lag BaOmer was the opposite of unity when the students are Rabbi Akiva. So on Lag BaOmer, we're going to show Achdus, where kids, all types of kids, and not only kids, all types of Jews get together, and we march with Jewish pride, because through the secrets of the Torah, remember us that we have a burning neshama, and we're so proud of who we are, and we're not embarrassed to bring signs to the street and say, hey, we're Yid, and if you're a Yid, help us eat kosher. Don't be afraid of what you are. Don't be afraid of letting that little fire inside of you shine. Where is the custom to go to Lag BaOmer? Okay, two answers to that. Number one is to go, where do you think? Miran. To go to Miran. Let's start next. You know what? Let me go for our first clip. And I love this clip. First of all, when I was a bacher, it was packed. It was packed for literally probably at least a kilometer around the caver. Literally, almost the entire Eretz Yisrael goes to. It's so amazing. Rashbi, this is what the secrets of the Torah. When you have Chassidus, it brings Yidden together, because it shows that every Yid is really the same. Without Chassidus, you say, well, I like the right, like unfortunately the Talmidim of Rabbi Akiva. I know more Torah than you, so I'm a better person than you. I don't have to listen to you. I don't have to respect you because you know so much less. I'm the smartest kid in the class, so you have to listen to me. And when you say something, I could go, "That's so stupid," or I could think at least in my mind, "Oh gosh, here he goes again," because you don't know as much as me, and you're slow and you're stupid. But when you have the secrets of the Torah, you say, "Wait a minute, maybe I'm a little bit smarter, but first of all, Hashem gave me that smart, so should I be proud of something that I didn't earn?" Right? If Chas v'Shalom, like I say, if someone wasn't able to walk, do you walk around and say, "Ha ha, you can't walk and I can"? Would you ever? No one would ever think of doing that. "Ha, look at me, I could walk, and you're sitting in a wheelchair." Chas v'Shalom. So why are we okay to do that when we feel a little smarter than someone else? Like, you're so dumb. I'm so. What is that all about? Anyways, if you obviously are very, very ignorant to not understand how neshamas work, because maybe you know a little bit more, but maybe his neshama, you have no idea who you're looking at. And again, we're going to tie that into the story for today. But I just find it so beautiful that Lag BaOmer, when the secret of the Torah shines, every Jew gets together. I want to show you Miran, and I just want you to notice in the crowd, literally, I don't like using names because Chas Hashem, there's no such thing as a chassid and misnagin. No Jew is against each other, really. They're just silly labels. But you'll see Yidden that have like a Chassidish look and a Litvish look and a Mizrahi look, and there's tons that not even in the video that are kilometers around from a Yidden and not from a Yidden. It's just amazing. It's the most incredible sight. Let's go to one of those sites right now as we go to Miran. Notice all those different type of people stand dancing in one circle. Right? You see that Chassidim and not Chassidim, and Fruma people and not necessarily Fruma people, all dancing. It's like unbelievable. You don't see this anywhere, and it just this goes for. Let's actually go. This is just so beautiful and incredible. Okay, and we'll get to parade soon. I hope you're able to hear that. If someone is near their phone and could text me that they were able to hear that video, that would be comforting. Okay. Now, of course, the other thing where we go to is to the sada, to the field, to the park, to the open nature of Hashem, and which leads us to the next question: what's the custom that we do on Lag BaOmer? And that is to shoot bow and arrows, to bring up bows and arrows, and to shoot them. There's a very important reason why. There's actually several reasons why. And that leads us to our next question. What's the lesson from the bow and arrow? Which there's also a bonus question. What is another lesson from bow and arrow? So let's rewind a little bit. The idea of a bow and arrow, first of all, we know, well, the simple reason, this is not a lesson, but the simple reason is because that, of course, there was no bow, rainbow, in the times of Hashem Bar Yochai. A rainbow means that Hashem has to hold back his upsetness, and Hashem has to remember that he promised he'd never bring a rainbow. But because Rashbi, he was such a holy person that in his generation, Hashem never needed to show the rainbow, because the world was just such a perfect state. Now, interestingly, the opposite now. It says in Zohar, Rashbi said, even though there was no rainbow in his days, he said, actually, if you see a very colorful rainbow in the sky, you should know that you're about to hear the footsteps of Mashiach. And that reminds us that what Rav Shimon Bar Yochai started revealing the secrets of the Torah, which led to the revealing of Chassidus. Mashiach told the Baal Shem Tov, of course, I will come when you spread all the teachings of Chassidus. So the bow reminds us that through today, we're going to be able to see the rainbow before Mashiach. Now, what is the lesson from a rainbow? Well, from a bow and arrow. Interestingly, when Yaakov Avinu tells Yosef, he says, you know what, I'm going to give you a special gift. Because you're going to take me up to Eretz Yisrael, and because I took away the Bechorah from Reuven and I gave it to you, because you are also my Bechor. Of course, Yosef was the oldest son of Rachel. So for his mother, he was technically a Bechor. So of course, you know that Reuven unfortunately lost his Bechor and was given to Yosef. So Yaakov Avinu tells Yosef, I'm going to give you an extra piece of land in Eretz Yisrael. Do you know which city was given to Yosef? And he's actually buried there? The city of Shechem. And Yaakov says, the city of Shechem, which I conquered with my sword and my bow. Now, you know what? Targum Uncles actually doesn't translate it. Targum Uncles is the translator. He translates it into Aramaic. And he doesn't say my bow and my sword. But he says what Yaakov was really hinting to. He said, it's my davening and my learning. That's how my begging Hashem. That's how I conquer. You think Yaakov plot to pull out a sword? The Jewish sword and the Jewish arrow and bow is, of course, davening and learning. That's how we fight, because when a Yid learns, then everything else works out. And that's the lesson you learn from a bow. The Rebbe says, well, let's go for the first one. Remember we spoke about that you shouldn't use learning to make yourself better than other people, but to feel. So what do we learn from an arrow? That the farther down you pull the string, remember the further back you pull the string, the further the arrow goes. And that's a lesson for us. The smaller we feel about ourselves. Huh? I heard the video? Okay. The further back you pull the string, the farther your arrow goes. The further back you feel, and you feel, you know what, I'm very smart. Hashem gave me a bracha. You know what? Just like if you saw an old man, you say, ha ha, that old man can't walk anymore, and I could walk. What do you do if you could walk and you're a proper yid? Then you would help that person cross the street. Ha ha ha, you broke your arm, so you can't carry the bags. No, we're not. Right? You're not evil Knievels. What we do when someone sees someone schlepping a bag and his arm is hurting, we would run and help out. So when we learn, you say, I can learn better than you. You are chas shalom, whatever. Don't do that. Say, hey, Hashem gave me this special bracha. Let me go and help this person. Let's learn fichidon. Let's give him some. Let's learn together. Yeah. Oh, it's annoying. I hate learning with that boy because, or I don't like learning with that girl because she's always behind. Well, that's what's so special. You have the ability to help someone. And the smaller you feel about yourself, because you never know who the other person is. Now, even say, I know very much who the person is, but we don't know neshamas. We don't know how great a neshama is. How many times did the Baal Shem Tov ask a simple person to save a city? And the further we pull back, the further our arrow will go. The stronger our arrow will be, and the further and more powerful, and will give protection to all of Klal Yisrael. The bonus lesson is that what is the difference between a sword? What do you think? I'm not going to tell you. I'll only give you 30 seconds or less to think. What is the idea of a sword? What's the difference between a sword weapon and a weapon of a bow and arrow? What's the obvious difference between? What's the obvious difference in strategy if you had a sword or you had a bow and arrow?
Bow and arrow can go far.
Yes. A bow and arrow. A sword is when you have to fight someone right in front of you, but a bow and arrow could go very far. And the Rebbe says, of course, this is the other thing we have to remember. We can't just fight the Yetzer Hara up close. Up close means things that are in your face, things that are obvious that they're from the Yetzer Hara. For example, you want to do something, chas v'shalom, you want to eat something that not necessarily, I think it's kosher, I think it's fine, it should be fine, but then you know right away it's coming from the Yetzer Hara. Oh, I don't want to daven now, I don't want to help out now. There are things that we have to use our sword, and of course I don't mean a sword, I mean the power, to fight the Yetzer Hara up close. And that's the things that we are very obvious that it's coming from the Yetzer Hara. But then there are things that are far. In other words, you can't really tell that's from the Yetzer Hara. For example, mommy says, can you come help me? No, I can't help you because I'm partial learning right now. Whoa. All of a sudden you remembered you had to learn? No, but I just remembered I had to learn, and learning is very important. Oh, yeah, but all of a sudden learning could be a Yetzer Hara. All of a sudden, I don't have time for you, I don't have time for my friend because I have to do something now, and it's holy. Oh, all of a sudden, you couldn't do it. Sometimes doing things holy could also be from the Yetzer Hara. And we got to use far weapons to make sure even our learning sometimes learning could be used as Yetzer Hara. I'm learning all day, I don't have time for you. And we can make a person feel very, very bad. And that's why, as the Rebbe says, we have to do things that are far weapons. They don't seem to have to do. Like when we daven, we have to give tzedakah before. When we're older, we go to mikveh before. We can learn some chassidus before. The way we daven to a little bit longer. Use things that really reach very far into the Yetzer Hara. 12 psukim, etc., etc. Okay. Now, the thing, let's go back. We got raffles. So I'm going to show you one beautiful, beautiful video. And I'm going to go through with you the history of the parades. You said, what else do we do? We do parades. And like I said, it's all about today 3 major things. Jewish unity coming together. It's about the kids, the power of the children, as we'll see soon in the story. And of course, being proud of who we are. And you know that in New York, unfortunately, people are very not proud. And it wasn't only New York, it was Australia also. Do you know many people that considered themselves frum would go to work without their yarmulkes? Because, what are other people going to know? I'm frum just because I don't have a yarmulke. They kept Shabbos, they kept kosher, but they were scared. They would, so many of them, there were Hasidim that their custom was to have a beard. They would take it off. They wanted to feel like they should be like normal, like everyone else. They were worried about it. And in New York, this was after the Holocaust. People weren't very proud to be Jewish. They didn't know the whole idea of driving around in a mitzvah take with music and a manada on the car. Now every Jew that sees it gets excited. But in the olden days, they were so embarrassed. And the Rebbe went out, and he started making parades. This started with the Mesilas Shabbos parades. He started Mesilas Shabbos, but for boys and girls. Now we divide and call it Mesilas Shabbos and Benos. But actually, the original name was Mesilas Shabbos. It was boys and girls, not together. It was special councils for boys, special councils for girls. And then we would start parades. And they would march up and down Eastern Parkway. And first people were uncomfortable, like, oh my gosh, what are you parading around for? But they were showing even the adults, these little kids were showing the adults, hey guys, it's okay to be proud. It's okay to say I'm a Jew. It's okay to say, hey guys, let's start keeping Shabbos. And it was a major campaign because Crown Heights actually at the time had thousands of Yidden, and they were not all Lubavitch. In fact, Lubavitch was the tiniest part of Crown Heights. There were other Rebbes and many not from a Yidden. Crown Heights was kind of like this massive Jewish area with all types of Jews. And maybe even a majority not from, and they have stores. It's interesting today, you'll see, go down Crown Heights sometimes, or around New York, and you'll see a store, a Frum store that says Shomer Shabbos, and I think to myself, the store is Shomer Shabbos, like, no kidding, what, oh my gosh, we're in Crown Heights, of course the store is Shomer Shabbos. But you don't know that many years ago, people unfortunately had such a hard time closing their store on Shabbos. And people would go around with signs. So without further ado, okay, I'm gonna start the video in a moment, and Rabbi Groner, the first parade actually happened in Tufshin Tezayin 1956, but it started even earlier, where, like I told you, those Mesilas Shabbos parades, and they would march up and down. It would happen not every Sunday. It would happen, by the way, not on Shabbos. It was called the Mesilas Shabbos parade. It didn't happen on Shabbos, but like Purim, like Bo'omer, certain special times they would parade. And then it turned into a Lag Ba'omer parade, and a formal parade where the Rebbe came out and he spoke to the kids. And Rabbi Groner, our very own Rabbi Groner, the one, Olav Shalom, the Zaidi of all the Groners, Rabbi Yitzchak Groner, who was a very big Mesilas Shabbos leader at the time, he was on a car and making announcements and saying how you have to keep Shabbos. And slowly one store became like a good virus. One store after the other started closing down for Shabbos. And Yidden started following these kids back into 770 and walked into a shul for the first time of their life, or for the first time since World War II, and it just made an impact. Let's watch a bit of a video of the history of Lag Ba'omer. What was most incredible is that the Rebbe wouldn't just come out to the parade. Then the kids, like the Minigist, would go to the park, and people were amazed that the Rebbe stopped whatever he was doing, and the Rebbe would always have to go to the oil with lots of letters, because I told you Lag Ba'omer was the most incredible day to ask for brachas. But even though the Rebbe was rushing to the oil, the Rebbe would always make sure to stop, and we're going to see some beautiful footage, stop and just watch the kids play and have fun in the most Yiddish way, toting their yarmulkes with their tznius, the girls with their tznius clothing, and it was just the most pleasurable thing for the Rebbe to watch, how the Yidden were having, Jewish children's having beautiful Jewish fun. Without further ado, let's go to the history of the Lag Ba'omer parades. A parade is born. Okay, so this is 1956, as we mentioned. This is the Rebbe up there, and every group, thousands of kids came together, about 6,000 kids, I believe, maybe a little, and you see their Shabbos signs, and then they're going to that the old bus. This is already the next year. 6,000 children came, and the Rebbe spoke. You can see Rebbe Tzachana, the Rebbe's mother, actually watching the parade. And again, the public school kids would come, state school kids, yeshiva kids, and the Rebbe would bless all those that were in yeshiva and encourage all those that weren't to demand from their parents to go to yeshiva. The parade gets literally bigger and bigger. This is the first time they had a drumming parade. They had and you'll see throughout generations, throughout the years, how the drummers. This was a very special parade. These are the frightful days right before the 6-day war, and everyone thought Eretz Yisrael was going to be in for a disaster. And the Rebbe came out to the kids in New York, and the Rebbe said, your Torah and mitzvahs, you are going to change and make the biggest victory. No one believed the Rebbe, besides, of course, the children of Chassidim. And this is this famous parade. As you see, the drumming band is getting better and better, as we'll see soon. And the kids, the Rebbe said, you could help the Tzahal soldiers. You added Torah and mitzvahs, and of course, in only 6 days, the greatest miracle happened. This is about 10 years later. As you see, this is the first year they introduced floats. I believe they did this in one night. I heard when the floats, I should have looked it up, the research, but then they started doing these beautiful floats, which made people even more proud of being a Yidden, which is so cool. I think the first floats were done like overnight. And year after year, they were starting these beautiful floats. 1983, my first Lag Ba'omer parade. And this is 2 years after Tzivos Hashem was made. And like soldiers going by the general. Every child was able to go by the Rebbe. Everyone just watched with pleasure. Here is the Special Marine Guard, and they would do different shows. This is part of would take over the entire Empire Boulevard and create a whole Luna Park in the middle of Crown Heights. And this is the fourth bucket of being bucket. And Uncle Maishi, believe it or not, this is the Rebbe's car. And the Rebbe, like I told you before he went to the oil, would make sure to stop off at the children and just watch all the children play. 1984, one of the most incredible parades ever. This was really, really beautiful. This is 3 years after Tzimtzum Hashem was made, and you see those floats getting better and better. Literally, about 20,000 people came from all over. This was an Irish man. If you notice, that's why they couldn't have Even did have a 21-gun salute, a special type of salute. 1987. It was the only time that you're able to see the Rebbe come up and using him in a loud way. I like going to a special podium here. The police are saluting the Rebbe. Or we tell you the drum band. Every kid with their sign, and we would shoot in the clouds. Every school would make their beautiful float. The Rebbe's participating in the upstream. The float that Rebbe did with his hand, the Rebbe showed them a scissor. And following years were special parades. But then, my favorite part, the story continues, not only in New York, but across the world. And here we go!
On behalf of Chabad Youth and Yeshiva Center, welcome to the Light Volume Parade!
Enjoy our Chabad Youth Parade. 2008.
Signs are up in
That other
Brooklyn.
one, the first year in Melbourne.
London's doing the same.
In Nahara, we had many
Smiling down in
usually happened on a
Melbourne.
Sunday because that's when
In
state
Cape
schools,
Town,
they
Moscow,
come
and
out.
Spain.
If the public school kids, the state schools,
Dancing
come out.
in Chicago. Singing
That's
in
why
LA.
specifically on a Sunday we have made
The
this
great
video. Otherwise, we just went to the
parade
park.
is going on. A worldwide mitzvah train. Parading, join together hand in hand. Parading, onward to the promised land. Parading, wave your banner to the sky. Parading, come on and join the ride.
One nation, all united. We're marching young and old. One people, not divided. We're moving on, let's go.
Parading, join together hand in hand. Parading,
Onward to the promised land.
parading,
Wave your banner to the sky.
parading. Come on and join the ride. Dancing in your backyard, singing in your streets. Surely you will join us. Let's sing now, you and me. You and me. Parading. Join together hand in hand. Parading. Onward to the promised land. Parading. Wave your banner to the sky. Parading.
Come on and join the ride.
The world in celebration, young soldiers standing tall. I hope for generations. It's time to hear the call. Parading, join together hand in hand. Parading, onward to the promised land. Parading, wave your banner to the sky. Parading, come on and join the ride.
Well, you guys will join back this year, and of course, Big Leader says 2020. So Big Leader says it's your time to church, to write this next month of the story of Life Volume. Make sure you are there tomorrow night. There's again, like we mentioned on Tuesday, also a very special program with a special show. Let's get to our raffles and our story, and then signing out. Okay, for our Pesach Sheni Shiur. So this is for last Sunday. Thank you for all those. And our next shipment of prizes, I know some of you are desperately waiting. Bez Hashem, our next shipment of prizes is going to go out today. As we do go into our little Chabad Youth Mobile to drop off all the prizes. And our winner for last week is none other than Mayor Greenbaum. Big mazel tov. And our This was for Shabbos. So if you know, every week there you get to continue the Rebbe's dream of making a Mesilas Shabbos in every Jewish home. And Bez Hashem, we'll be back soon. The real live Mesilas Shabbos and Benas. But if you did Mesilas Shabbos and Benas, this is not for this week. If you did this week, you can still hand in email in. So again, to be in this week's raffle, answer the questions online. The links could be found at chabadyouth.org/virtual. That's where you can also find the special list, the special form to fill out if you did a Mesib Benas. And now for the Mesib Benas raffle. The winner is none other than Chana Esther Brown. Mazel tov, Chana Esther. And now, without further ado, straight to our special story as promised. Okay. Now, of course, the Heilige Baal Shem Tov, before he revealed himself as the Heilige Baal Shem Tov, he would go around. He didn't want people to know, and he wanted to encourage Yidden. So he would go around as a very simple Yid. He would go around sometimes in his casket and his vest or whatever, in his coat, and he would go around from city to city. And literally, because he knew how special children was, you know what his main job he would always look for? He would actually always look for it to not only just become a teacher, but to become a teacher's helper. That's all. He knew how precious children were. He would actually become a helper for teachers just to encourage and help children out. And sometimes he would have to reveal himself. But if Yidden were in trouble, then of course the Baal Shem Tov felt that he needed to reveal himself, but then he would disappear from that city, as we will see. In those days, unfortunately, in Eastern Europe, the Yidden often were attacked by crazy, wild bands of crazy Cossacks and other type of anti-Semitism. They would beat Yiddish men, and they would come in, they would just hurt the women and children, steal from their house, sometimes just burn down the house. Of course, it was very, very terrible and very, very scary for the Yidden. And so it was, from once in a while, just these guys would come in and in just 1 or 2 days, just destroy an entire city, take everything, leave people harmed in the worst ways. But it was so one day, the Baal Shem Tov was sitting in a town, and he was sitting in shul, saying Tehillim. A bunch of Yidden around, and all of a sudden, Moshe the Shrayer came running in. Moshe the Shrayer, it was Moshe the Screamer. He would always make the announcements every time there was something to say. Oi, oi, Chevre! Oi, 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 they're coming! They're coming! They're coming! Who, what? Oi, bye, bye! They're coming, I promise they're coming! Who's coming? No, not really! Who's coming? Them, the Meshugayim, the Cossacks. Yeah, let's get out of here. Of course, everyone's face turned white. They would have to run. They ran, each father ran to his house. All their sons and daughters gathered up. They didn't even have time to take expensive things. Everything was left in their house. And right away, oh my gosh, their lives were in danger. How many Yidden were going to die this time? Rachmana litzlan. And they all said, Baruch, that town actually was near a little hill with a bit of a forest. They all started running towards the forest. Within 20 minutes, the whole town emptied out. They're out of breath, and they're even trying not to breathe because of... And of course, it took only 10 minutes later, and all of a sudden, they hear the screaming, ah, shit! All the Jews! Let's go to the bar first! And the bar, and Nebuch, Yossela the Kretschmer man, sees his door being kicked open, and each guy coming out, we're going to kill this Jew, beat them up and steal everything. Oh, I like the silver lighter, Dawai, whip them. And they all started drinking and getting drunk, and next one goes to the next house, smashes the door, and everyone, the guy's about to go, stop, he wanted to scream, but everyone held his mouth back. He could endanger the entire city. They smashed the door open, and he sees them coming out with these bags, his lighter, his becher, his wallet, and they start making a pile. in the middle of the town, but they were in no rush. Oh, where are these Jews? Meanwhile, we have some more vodka. Cheers. And drinking and getting drunk, they were in no rush. They had their weapons and they were ready. Oh, I think the Jews went out to work. Oh, it's some holiday now. Maybe they come back. Maybe it's a Lag Ba'omer and went to the field. Oh, they didn't say that, but it actually was about to be. It was a day or before Lag Ba'omer. And, okay, we just wait till they come back. Meanwhile, more party. And you see them bash down the next house, bring out all these, the little Nebuch, the guy had his last chicken and he takes out, and they make a barbecue outside. And they're getting more and more angry. What did they do that? We came to crack some bone. What did these Jews already? And they start emptying out more houses. A day goes by. Everyone is starving. People did just schlep a drop of food with them, but that was quickly running out. And in the morning, and another day went by. So it was 2 days before Lag Ba'omer. And these guys are, we came to break some head. What's going on here? And they're getting more and more nervous. The Yidden were terrified of being discovered. All of a sudden, they saw Yisraelik. Oh my gosh, what's he doing? Yisraelik that only lived in the town for about a half a year. He was the simple Yid that used to help the teacher out. And Yisraelik starts coming to the cave, walking around the cave, and he starts taking the children. What's going on? What's this mad guy doing? And all the children, they all loved Yisraelik. Of course, this was the Heilig of Baal Shem Tov. No one knew who this was. And he starts bringing the children outside of the cave in the broad daylight, away from where they were hiding. And they said, hey, Yisraelik, you're endangering the kids. Don't touch our kids. You're endangering the whole town. And then Baal Shem Tov turned around and he said, today, my dear Yidden, is Lag Ba'omer, a day to go outside in the field to celebrate with Reb Shimon Bar Yochai. I promise you, nothing will happen. And the merit and the schus of Lag Ba'omer, and we do it right, I promise you, not only nothing will happen to us, you'll see it will protect the entire community. And this is what I know, the first Lag Ba'omer parade ever made. And they're in that little town. What maybe others made, but I think what I know, the first recorded Lag Ba'omer parade. And here in the broad daylight, up the hill, you couldn't clearly see them, but right outside was the Baal Shem Tov with all the children. Somehow the excitement and the assurance of this unknown Yisraelik made all these nervous parents a little bit more calm. And he said, okay, we hear you. And he spoke with such a munah that they just let Yisraelik go to all the parts of the cave and to all the other 2-3 caves that were around and gather all the children. Of course, many of the adults were still like, oh my gosh, this is crazy. What are we doing? The Baal Shem Tov began his little parade and the children marched along. First, they started with a whisper. They were all scared. But the Baal Shem Tov made with his hand. And they started singing louder and louder, and all their fears melted away as they sang to honor the Heilig Ketana Reb Shimon Bar Yochai. The parents stared at the children with nervous love. They were so inspired, but they were so frightened. But all of a sudden, their attention drew away from their children. They all stared at the face of the Baal Shem Tov, like a person they never saw before. This simple young man who they had no idea what it was, who he was. They saw his face like never before. It looked like it was on fire. It looked like his face was glowing. A certain holiness shone as he sang with the children. Every movement he made looked like a malach moving as he danced together with the children in his pure holiness. The simple Yisraelik that they once knew had all of a sudden been transformed in their eyes to the holiest malach. His voice together singing with the pure voices of the children surely were as beautiful, they all thought, as when the Malachim sing to Hashem. The parade continued, and the singing grew stronger. And by this time, of course, all the parents understood that they're not dealing with any Yisraelik, but some holy, holy tzaddik. Then the Baal Shem Tov led them all to a little area with grass, and he sat them down on the grass, and he pulled out what they had, their candies in those days, little sugar cubes, and of course, remembering to say the bracha, Shehakoil nihiya b'dvarai, that everything is made with us from Hashem's will, and everything is from Hashem. They ate it, and the Baal Shem Tov, with true love to all these children, started speaking stories of the Gemara and of the Medrash about the Shimon Bar Yochai and his Halakha teacher Rabbi Akiva. The children listened carefully, and they felt that strong love of the Baal Shem Tov, and how powerful each one felt, their neshama shining. The parents and all the other adults were a little bit worried. How could he be slow? He sees a holy man, but he's outside for such a long time. They quickly looked back. They kept looking back at the bonfire, not the good bonfire. Unfortunately, there was a bonfire in their town as these goyim started burning things. But they, Baruch Hashem, not too much was burnt yet, but they were about to burn down the whole town. And they see these piles of all their property in the middle. And they all daven to Hashem. Oh my gosh, they're still waiting for us. Whoa, Dawah, we're not there ready. 2 days and nothing. Let's go and look for them. Ha ha! Maybe they're up on the hill. As soon as one of them said it, another one came running. Oi! Oi! Yeah! Cossacks! Out! Let's get out of here! Fast! They're coming! They're coming! He was so frightened. Everyone stopped what they were doing. They dropped all the property they were in the middle of collecting. At first, the Yidden became frightened. Oh no! They saw the Cossacks running. Oh, here they come! They're sure to catch us now! But obviously, very quickly they realized that everyone just disappeared. They all ran away. And soon after, they were not heard, and the danger was over. Eventually, they found out what was going on from a Goyish neighbor from the next town, that somehow these wild hooligans found out, or should we say, thought they found out, that a troop of the government soldiers were coming very closely, because still this was, although the government allowed it, it was still considered illegal if they were caught by soldiers. And the soldiers didn't get along with the Cossacks either, because they were very wild and they would just cause a lot of destruction. So although the soldiers didn't mind them so much harassing Yidden, but they hated the Cossacks, so they would steal also from other people and make everyone crazy. And they were so frightened, they all ran. They didn't even take a single thing from the town. They drank, of course, a little bit of mashka, but everyone was fine with that. They left all the property, and because they were so scared that it's going to slow them down if they're carrying things, they emptied their pockets and we got to get out of here as fast as possible. Of course, the Yidden returned and very happily steps in their own parade, amazed by the open miracle. There were no soldiers. And they understood now the great miracle in the schus of Reb Shimon Bar Yochai. And of course, brought out through the Halakha Tzaddik, the Baal Shem Tov. By the time they turned around to make a big soda and thank the Halakha Baal Shem Tov, he had already, of course, disappeared to the next town. And they hadn't heard and seen him again until, of course, the Baal Shem Tov revealed himself as the Halakha Baal Shem Tov. Thanks for joining us today. We will see you tomorrow night, 18 for 18, Chai for Chai. Hopefully will be the biggest parade, where the whole entire Jewish nation will march together. And we'll march together in the greatest parade in the Yerushalayim. So we'll see you tomorrow night, 18 for 18. And then followed that night, after the 18 minutes, a special exciting kids program with the 12 psukim and a very exciting show. Then, of course, as mentioned, Tuesday morning, Lag BaOmer. I hope by then we'll be in Miran, we'll be in Yerushalayim, dancing with Rabbi Akiva, Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, with the Baal Shem Tov, with our Rebbe, the greatest parade. But if Rahman al-Islam, we're stuck in Galus, Join us here, same place, sort of place, and 2 o'clock for the most incredible Lag B'Omer program. Everyone have a wonderful day. Signing out, and don't forget, of course, to fill out your sheets for Benas Masib and for today's questions.